right, well, we can go ahead and get started. Sorry again for the construction noise in the background here. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Eli Beckman. I'm the mayor. We've got Town Manager Todd Cusimano, Assistant Town Manager and Town Clerk Rebecca Vaughn. We've got our Code Enforcement and Communications Director Mike Moriarty, Public Works Director RJ Suko, Planning and Building Director Adam Wolf here to answer your questions today. We'll start with brief updates from all of us before we turn it over to the public for anything that you guys want to talk about. The only thing that I really wanted to be sure to update folks on is the town council did just have last week our annual strategic planning retreat, which is our once yearly meeting where we kind of set the top priorities for the coming year. So just a quick recap on that. The two things that were top priorities last year that we carried over to this coming year are continuing to work on climate action. So that's both mitigation, reducing Corte Madera's emissions, and also adaptation, which is protecting Corte Madera from flooding and wildfire. And then the other thing is town finances. We've made a lot of really good progress over the last several years, especially on various financial reforms. Corte Madera is I will say, I think a pretty impressive financial position right now, especially considering that we've just come out of a global pandemic and associated recession. So we just want to make sure over the coming year that we consolidate those gains and don't kind of backslide into old practices. So those remained top priorities for us going forward. Two other things that were identified as top priorities: the housing element. You guys have probably all received the mailers and seen the banners up around town. Corte Madera is just getting ready to start the multi-year process of redoing our housing element and entering into the next 8-year cycle for RHNA, which is our local housing mandates that are handed down to us by the regional government. So Adam and his team are going to be leading a process over the coming year or two, kicking off with a series of, I want to say it's like 6 or 8 public workshops. So we'll have really good opportunities going forward. I think it's at least one a month for the next several months, opportunities for the public to get engaged and really share your thoughts. The high level is the regional government has told us we need to plan for 725 new units. And so we're trying to work with the public on identifying, where it might make sense to zone for those. Worth noting that Corte Madera's responsibility is to zone for these units, not build them. And whether or not they're actually built is, I'm going to say, primarily up to market forces. So it's we have to zone for these things, but that's not a guarantee that they're going to get built. But of course, we want to make sure that we're being thoughtful so that in the event that they do get built, it's done in a sensible way that has a positive impact instead of a negative impact on the town. So that's the housing situation. That's going to be a priority going forward, getting that process started. Another priorities, we're getting ready, as I think you guys are all aware, we're going to tear down and rebuild Town Hall. The current facility is way past its service life. So as part of that process, staff is going to be moving into temporary office spaces that we've rented at Hunt Plaza, which is on Tamil Vista. Obviously moving town staff, moving our entire town operations from Town Hall into a temporary facility is going to be a huge undertaking. So that was something that we felt just had to be kind of de facto a top priority for the coming year, just to make sure that that effort has all the resources it needs to be successful and make sure that we're able to kind of do that shuffle without impacting any of the services or programs, projects that we're planning on offering for residents. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, depending on who's on this call, some of you will be glad to hear, bathroom situation at Town Park, figuring out and implementing an interim solution there to make sure that we've got adequate bathroom facilities at Town Park. The Parks and Rec department completes their master planning process has also been identified as a top priority for the coming year. I know that has been an issue that we've talked about repeatedly in these meetings in the past, so I just wanted to let folks know that. Those are all of our kind of identified top tier priorities, at least as far as I can recall. Staff may have some others to offer, but that's all. I'll stop there and turn it over to any staff who want to give updates.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along those lines, staff has quickly kind of put our heads together to really talk about, is there a way to solve the short-term bathroom conversation in the immediacy, and something we're working with RJ and Ashley on. We're in the process of hiring a full-time building attendant and maybe a part-time building attendant on top of that. So that would allow us to reopen and start doing things in our community center, but also make those bathrooms available up front in the community center, available on weekends. And so that would be a really quick fix, really kind of kill a couple of birds with one stone, so to speak, of solving multiple problems with that personnel adjustment. So we think we can do that pretty quickly. And so that's coming. One of the other things council really focused on was some of the changes in our reorganization of the building department and customer service. And really, we're putting a lot of resources and time and effort to staff up. The first couple of weeks of November, we'll have a new building official and 2 permit technicians on board. And really just moving forward on customer service and delivering those building permits quickly to our residents is also a top priority for the council. We talked a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how do we move forward with that process. Lorena, our administrative assistant analyst, helped write and put together the town of Fairfax's report and provided a series of recommendations to their council. She'll be coming to our council in the coming months, probably January, February, with that report. And we look at in this upcoming work plan of really how do we implement equity and diversity and inclusion into our decision-making matrix as staff and as a council on everything that we do. We also talked a lot about, Patty Stolier brought it up, and the council carried over the discussion with staff. When we talk about all this, we don't talk about age, and thinking about our seniors on some of the, when we bring up the fee discussion as an example, when we're doing these safety improvements to houses, is there a way to give subsidies or grants for those improvements to seniors and others, and building that into our decision making? And so that was the direction of council as well. So I think a lot of good things are going to come this coming year, on that front. The other one was finding a way to really deliver community events townwide. And so staff, I think we've been doing a pretty good job this past year coming out of COVID to do that, but a council would like to see that continue and for us to be proactive and innovative as a staff to make those community events happen townwide. A couple bigger picture conversations, the council, a lot of discussion over the town-owned shopping center and really understanding what the options are for the council to consider in the community. And so we're going to, as a first step, take this conversation to the finance subcommittee this coming year to really talk about just the financial side of it, all aspects, provide a report to council on opportunities, for decision-making just from a financial perspective. And then from that point, we'll go to step 2, which will be starting to have a series of conversations with the community on what they would like to see the future of that shopping center look like. We're going over a master planning process with Parks and Rec. We're also about to go through the housing element with planning. There's a lot of discussions of what that future of that shopping center should be. The good news is it's worth multi-millions of dollars more than we paid for it at this point, and we're also finally making money annually on the shopping center instead of losing money annually. So we can take a deep breath, but the council did have a pretty good conversation on the direction of staff of let's start the next step and at least have some conversations with the community on where we want to go. Also, there was some discussion about short-term rentals and where we're at with that. And so we are going to bring a contract via consultant to the council to consider to move forward with that process if they wish to do that, and make some decisions there with the community in this coming work plan as well. But overall, it was really appreciated. The feedback from council was a good opportunity for us all to get together. We're going to get together as a staff and really just kind of put that work plan now on the next 12 months. The work plan will be January 1st of 2022 to December 31st of 2022. So we'll put that, overlay it with the agendas and see what we can deliver on that work plan. And we'll bring that back to council in the next 30 to 45 days with a recommendation. And hopefully we'll be off and running come January 1st. And as the mayor said, there are a couple items on that work plan that we will bring in the coming months. We'll try to get those done. Excuse me, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. And with that, I'll stop there. And if staff has anything else.
Great update. Thank you, Todd. Any other updates from staff here before we open this up? Adam, was that a hand?
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, 1 second here. I gotta mute. Apologies. So I think you did a great job, and on sort of just giving the overview of the housing element process, and just to add to it a touch, we are going to start this process tomorrow night with our first housing element workshop. It's at 6:30 p.m. If I have the time right, I hope I do. And there are already six workshops scheduled. It's going to be the second Wednesday of each month for the next 6 months. And this is really just intended to help people get on a regular schedule and sort of put that thing up on their refrigerator and sort of, when that's going to happen for the next 6 months. And really it's designed to have an educational piece to it. So we're all using sort of the same baseline information about what is a housing element, what are we doing, why are we doing it, get some existing condition information on the current state of housing in Corte Madera, what are our existing policies, what is out there, what are the issues, but really trying to get feedback and information from our community members. So I hope everyone attends. I'm really hoping for a good turnout tomorrow night and the meetings going forward, but it is a long process, and I know we're asking a lot of our community members, but even if you can just come to a couple of them, always reach out to myself or our team. We have a great team assembled. Let's talk housing over the next 18 months. The other thing, though, another housing piece that I want our community members who are on this call to be aware of, we're also currently, even tonight at the Planning Commission, we're looking at a new ordinance proposal for what we're calling objective design standards, but think of it as multifamily. Somebody's building an apartment building under state law provisions that essentially take away our local discretion or design review process. What we're trying to do is put in place standards that nonetheless would give us projects that meet the expectations of our community for design quality and a certain design sort of aesthetic and urban design language and how these structures are going to meet the street. So we're trying to put that, we have an ordinance proposal in front of the Planning Commission this evening at 7 o'clock. There will be a public hearing for your input on that. There's a lot of information on our website. Ultimately, that we'll hear from the Planning Commission if they want to make a recommendation to the town council. Since it is an ordinance, it will go to the town council in the near future. So if you've been following along or want more information on that, please attend this evening at 7 p.m. And that's enough time on my end. There's more we could talk about, but I'll leave it there for others to add on to. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Adam. Any other updates from staff here? And if not, we're going to go ahead and open this up to members of the public. Again, sorry for the construction noise in the background. So anybody on the line here, if you have anything that you'd like to chat about or any questions to ask staff, go ahead and put your hand up and we'll just bring you on here and talk about whatever's on your mind. Don't be shy. Geez, okay, we're not seeing any hands go up here. There's one. Okay, we're going to hear from Karen.
Yeah, what's a Tuesday without hearing from Karen? I have two things that are unrelated. I saw a fairly snarky comment in the last couple of days on Nextdoor. And to say that I found something snarky on Nextdoor is kind of course. But they were going off on the Central Marin Police Authority, and somebody said that they'd called 911 and had been put on hold. Now, I find that hard to believe, and I know that Nextdoor isn't the source of accuracy, but I didn't know how to engage with I know that the town of Corte Madera is not responsible for the Central Marin Police Authority. So my question is, can you guys give me any guidance about how to are there regular meetings of the Central Marin Police Authority? Is there a way for the public to engage with them?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Karen. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I cut you off.
That's all right. So I'm looking for guidance because I don't know that they read this bullshit that shows up on Nextdoor. But I'd like them to have an opportunity to intervene in some of this stupidity.
Yeah, so I treat the Central Marin Police Authority. I would recommend that we all treat the Central Marin Police Authority like it's its own jurisdiction or city or town. And so they have a chair, which acts as basically the mayor. I'm sorry, who is the chair right now, Ms. Boston? Is that the court? We just switched.
It's Kevin Harroff from Larkspur.
Okay, so Kevin Harroff. So Kevin Harroff is a council member in Larkspur. He's the chair of the authority, and then the chief.
No,
So-
wait, he's the fire council.
Oh, the fire council. I'll find it. We just changed. I'm sorry, Karen. But basically, I would always forward that to the chief to let him know so he can respond. And if it's an educational kind of response, that it gives him the opportunity to send something out to the community. But what I'll tell you is if you call 911, and I just know this from, it's just a fact. It's just how they operate. Luckily for us, it's always recorded, so we can always go back and listen to that exchange. But it's 911 emergencies. Do you have an emergency? Or because an emergency could be going on in the moment. And if they say, no, it's not an emergency, they'll go, can you please stand by then? And they'll go and they'll handle an emergency. If they don't have an emergency going on, then they're gonna take the call. So they would never just put somebody on hold without asking it. That's the standard. They respond the same 10 times out of 10 times. But if you have that, thread, if you forward it to me, I'm happy then to introduce that and copy you with the chief of police, and just let's have them follow up.
I'm not quite sure how to send it to you.
Can you screenshot it?
This is above my pay grade.
Hey, for what it's worth,
I
this
can
is
reach out to
helpful.
Karen and help
Okay.
facilitate that. That's not a
Okay.
problem. But
Yeah,
also,
I just thought that this thing was extremely disingenuous, and she snaked like probably, at least from the comments, at least about 50 or so people into it. And is like, no, that did not frickin' happen.
okay, we'll work on that. The town of San Anselmo holds the chair right now. It's Ford Green as the police council chair.
Yeah, this was something that happened over, I think, in those apartments that are adjacent to the Larkspur Landing.
Okay.
And so it's definitely, Central Marin Police Authority, but I was pretty confident that this did not occur as it was reported. All right, thanks, Rebecca. Completely unrelated second thing is that I would love to go to visit the meetings on the housing element, except that I have a standing commitment at every Wednesday night, and will basically never be at any of those, except maybe if there was one the day before Thanksgiving, only I bet that that's not going to happen either. So all those things are all going to be available. There's going to be video of them, and I can see them after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to record all the meetings. We'll post them. We have a dedicated website.
Okay.
Well, and so all of that information will be available to you after the fact, and you can send any comments you have or questions you have after you review those to our email addresses or comment on the website.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And I'll just say for what it's worth, also, I have gotten a couple emails that seemed to be referencing that same Nextdoor post, unless there's like multiple versions of the same post. So I forwarded those on to Todd. And so I think, we can just make sure that all of these get to Ford Green, the chair.
Yeah, this was something that happened in just the last couple of days.
Yeah.
It was a woman that reported something that happened at Larkspur Landing, and somebody was breaking into her house or doing something, and she couldn't.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to the bottom of it. And I'm sure Central Marin, the Central Marin board and administration can definitely get to the bottom of it. And like Todd said, we have recordings, so we can obviously verify. I have never been put on hold when I've called 911 and said I have an emergency, so that doesn't track with my experience either. But thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks a lot. We don't have any other hands up from folks right now. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to talk to us about?
Yeah, boss, if I could, I just want to add something. There's a little bit of a discussion, and I think, it's hard not having public in-person meetings, and I think there's been a series of things that have happened where the perception or things get out of hand quickly. Hopefully we're able to get it back, but and I'll take ownership of this up front, but one of the things with the fee schedule, there's a lot of different conversations of coming at it. One, right, trying to reduce fees for our citizens that are going through, the permitting process. Having this conversation about, hey, if I'm going to do a safety improvement, can I get a subsidy or support to do that? The other one was, the town, our town, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to work here as a town manager, because it's so unique. We're the only ones where we have that history of volunteerism. We have groups in our community that it's just unusual here. We're very unusual that way in a really positive way. But as we talked about fees, one of the things, it came up with, why do we do it this way? And like, it just, sat back. And for me, this is where I take ownership of going, hey, it's good. It's okay to have a public discussion about fees. Why do we do it? A history lesson. And moving forward, like, how should we handle certain things? So for us as staff, I have a pretty good understanding of history, and I have a feeling of how I think things should happen with subsidies, and we do it now. And I'm talking specifically about Beautification Committee, the Lions Club, the Women's Club, the Corte Madera Community Foundation. Those 4 groups do so much for our community that it's just, for me, as new staff comes in and says, hey, why do we do it this way? For me, sometimes at a high level, I'm like, look, there's a longstanding history. It's the right thing. They do a great community service for us. But this time around, there's so many avenues of fees and what's going on. I thought it was appropriate to say, hey, it's okay. Let's have this discussion through the commission and ultimately to the council on all levels, from Parks and Rec to planning and building, across the board on each of our departments. It's okay to have a public conversation of just asking the question, why are we doing this? Should we do this? Because then you have, these are public funds, and you have the public conversation now of history, context, and community service, right? Of each of those, and reaffirming why we do what we do. And it's a history lesson for all of us. And I stepped back, I thought that was a good thing. We had a commission meeting. I honestly, I didn't listen to the whole commission meeting, but I know without starting that process, without talking to some of our community groups, that's me not going to those community groups and just sharing what I'm saying right now of hey, it's all good. We should probably be nice to have a couple of you, provide that context for us. I didn't do that, and we just started the process. And I think a lot of people, it upset a lot of people. And so I'm just here to say, we have some of them on the call now. I personally apologized. I did not mean to, and ultimately I knew the end game of where we were going to land. It's where we landed now. And so I know there were some upset people. When we went to the workshop, I basically just, hey, I talked to the council and I said, look, I don't have the authority. You have the authority. We've always done this, but we've actually, since I've been here in 5 years, I've never had that public conversation, and I don't have the authority to just waive fees. The council does. And so quickly we turned to, Council Member Ravazio, who's the longest standing council member, and said, can you give us a history? It would be a good history lesson. He did a great job. And the council very quickly, within 5 minutes, said, yeah, we're going to waive fees. Because it's the community service that they provide in the history. That's the direction. The council doesn't make decisions in a workshop, but philosophically, that's enough for me as the town manager then to give direction to staff. Hey, look, I don't even need to have this fee conversation anymore. We should have that historical update from the groups, and kind of reset, come back and kind of give that to the commission. So honestly, I know I'm talking in circles. I'm falling on the sword for those of you, and I will personally, contact those that I need to apologize. There was never no offense taken. We understand the volunteerism and what you mean to this community and to the town. And so that's the background, how it came about. And I think it's always important to provide that background and say, hey, look, this is how it came about. Understanding, hey, let's do a quick timeout. Let's backtrack a little bit and then move forward. I do think, and I know Pat's on the call, I appreciate some of your emails. I agree. It would be nice to have, because it's also nice for those groups to tell the community of what you do. You should be patted on the back. A lot of our Citizen of the Years have come from these groups. And so, you are appreciated with this staff, and I think it's always a good learning lesson for us to understand that as we go. And so I take responsibility because I didn't facilitate that. I could have done a better job. So I just sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I apologize, but I meant no offense. And I think the council, rightfully so, really quickly understands what you all mean to us. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because I know there's been a lot of emails out there, and I just want to be responsible for my own words and own actions with that. So I'll stop there, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, Todd. That, I know we've got a lot of folks on the call who are going to really appreciate that, folks who come from these organizations that have given so much to the town over literally decades. So thank you very much for that. And it looks like we're going to hear from some of them shortly. So that is great. We're going to just go in the order of hands up here. So we'll start with Barbara and move on to David.
Oh, yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. I'm not responding to Todd's comments because I don't even know what the context is. So it was about one of my pet peeves, and this is directed at Adam and Mike Moriarty. I'm always concerned about noise, the noise ordinance and construction noise after hours. And there's been a lot of it lately in my neighborhood, which is Willow, with the corner of Willow and Redwood. And I just a plea to maybe make crystal clear when you do give permits for construction work, make crystal clear the hours that they should start and they should stop, because every single contractor I've talked to about the noise has said, oh, I had no idea that there were hours we could do construction. So they may just be making that up, but it's enough of a problem that we need to do something. And the other thing is that when there is construction noise after hours, we had a neighbor who had his fence worked on for over 3 weeks and 7 days a week, and his workers were out there past 5 o'clock. Every single day, past 5 o'clock, 7 days a week. We talked to the workers. We left a note for the owners. I finally called the police out of frustration, only to be told 2.5 hours later that they no longer respond to noise complaints, construction noise complaints, and they told me to contact Mike Moriarty. So in the future, I will contact Mike Moriarty, but you're not there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, on a weeknight. So it's just, that's just a frustration that people in my neighborhood put up with every day. So I'm just putting in a plea about that. So, and Mike, I will contact you directly with the details. The fence does seem to be completed, hopefully, so they won't be back, but we have had a problem with this neighbor in the past, so thanks.
Yeah, please share whatever information you have, and even if we're not there, we'll respond the next day. And my team, right. One of our code enforcement officers actually lives in town, and he's been afforded a flexible schedule to come down and get the car and go resolve things. So,
oh, great, okay, that's good news.
And as you know, we're here to serve you, and we will respond and try to resolve any community concerns. Just taking a step back though, and talking about building permits and the times, contractors who secure building permits, they're provided the work hours that are permissible in town. And what comes with the building permit package is a lot of documents, but they are responsible. And if you're a licensed contractor in town or even throughout Marin County, you know that we're not the only town that has noise restrictions. So,
well, yeah, I suspect those were just reflex responses that they gave me. So,
just defense mechanisms, and like everything, we have a lot of reflecting or deflecting. Yeah. Please contact me offline, provide me with whatever information, and we'll certainly resolve these.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Of course.
Great, thank you, Barbara. We're going to move on to David, followed by Lucinda. And David, you should be able to unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
There we go. Hey guys, yeah, not responding to Todd, but Todd did inspire me to make this comment, and then I have another one. So I am what's called the core charter organization rep for the Boy Scout 24. So the Lions Club hosts the Boy Scout troop. We've been usually meeting over in Larkspur. So I guess this quick question, is it worth asking maybe to Ashley, her staff, could the Boy Scouts use the community center to meet maybe twice a month? It's just a small group of us. I know things are changing. Many others probably want to use your facilities. Is it worth even asking?
Yeah, I'm not sure well, let's talk offline, me and you, because we might have some other opportunities to assist you. Central Marin Police Authority has a good community room, and we actually are going to have a community room in our move in the next couple months. And so we might be able to assist you with a smaller group like that. So let's talk, and yes, we may be able to facilitate something for you.
Great, Ted. Yeah, I just remembered I remember using the room over the police station. Second, real quick, don't mean to blindside RJ, but maybe thanks. I think he knows we're going to talk about at the end of Echo. There's been great work on the bike path, and someone's been cutting down all the weeds. I do see lots of room for potential over there. Dr. Bundy and I proposed putting up new signs for the native trees. I know that's budding on property that is or is not Corte Madera property. So I just planting a seed. There's lots of room for improvement, and the neighbors over here really are really excited about how that is progressing with the new bike path and streets. Over.
Yeah, I'll just elaborate a little bit, but thank you, David. And I know we're instrumental in kind of pushing that to the top of our list for grants to apply for that project. And so thanks for doing that. And yeah, we're excited about the potential of that project. But as you know, we just, I don't know that we have the funding agreement in our hands yet, but we did get confirmation that we'll be getting the funds. So that's always good news. But yeah, we're looking forward to kind of going down the steps to build it. But it takes often a couple of years. So we'll continue that development. And I think it's going to start with conversations with California Department of Fish and Wildlife, since they have the underlying property, and we'll have to kind of work out an agreement to use that right away.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to give RJ and his team some props too. I came into town early the other day and just spent an hour and a half driving around town, and I was just so happy and pleased to see the east side of Corte Madera as you started to cross over down San Clemente, just all of the projects and improvements going on. It looks great, so I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that, Paradise Drive, the San Clemente slurry wasn't that long ago, the new sidewalks there, the sewer maintenance happening up kind of in the hillsides, and, the neighborhood's pretty impressive. So thank you very much, RJ. And thank you, David, for bringing up those excellent points. Did you have anything else, David?
No, I'm all good. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. We're going to move on to Lucinda, followed by Susie, and then Pat.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to follow up on a little bit of what Todd was talking about with regard to fees. And I think it would be very good to be transparent as to what the fees are and what's being charged for the various things that go on in town. And if I determined from your comments, Todd, that there's some volunteer groups like the 4 that you mentioned, and they get charged a fee for, I guess, meeting room or something like that. I don't know. I can't really speak to it. But I mean, those kinds of fees, I think, ought to be waived. But I think other fees are very appropriate. And I just would like to have some idea what happens to that money. Does it just go into the general fund, or is it for a specific purpose? And to be kind of reassured that those permit requirements for various things are upheld and enforced. I just kind of think, like the other comments were, that noise abatement is not being adhered to in after hours. So I just think those kinds of things need to be enforced, and we need to have some disclosure as to what all fees are and so forth, what happens to that money. That's all.
Well stated, and we will. The theory behind fees in general are specific to, like, when you think about parks and recreation, you think about planning and building, code enforcement. Those are cost recovery types of things, right? You want to cost recover your resources. So if you have a permit and there's a fee, it's based on the process. People that touch that permit that have to spend time to evaluate it, to enforce it. And so, well taken. I mean, I'll tell you that we don't recoup more fees than we provide services in those departments, but it's something that we've, as staff, that's kind of the background conversation is kind of like, look, what should we look like? What should be our recommendation? What types of services are we trying to provide? What do we need to provide them? And how, and what fee, what fees should we subsidize or are just a standard? And how do we track that? And I think we do call out, and rightfully so, we set aside and give certain subsidies, but we've never actually had the public conversation of the background to give us that direction. We've just put them in. And so council, even in some cases, it's a little bit flimsy of, we know what we want to do, but we really haven't had that right process or discussion. So I think what you're saying on the backside, being transparent on how we collect them and where do they go, show that to the community. I think that's a good conversation in addition to what we're trying to do. So I absolutely agree with you. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So that's all I had. You're muted.
Great point. Thank you very much, Lucinda. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to Susie next, followed by Pat.
Hi there.
Hello.
Well, as often happens to me, I start just listening and then suddenly I have a little list. So, Todd, I want to say thank you very much for addressing that subject straightforward on the issue of fees. We've all been working a little concerned about this since the Park and Rec meeting. And Ashley, also thank you because you also have addressed it. So I think that in the long run, there's going to be a really better understanding all the way around for all of us. I think it's going to be a really healthy, good thing. And we are more than happy and want to help, clarify the past, the history, and, clarify some miscommunications. So we're all together on this. I think we're family, and once in a while we have, questions about things. So that's kind of what happened there, I think. So anyway, we'll move forward and work together. And that's what I love about this community. And I feel like I'm a real part of it. And I think that's thank you to each one of you for making us be able to feel that way. It's pretty special. Mike Moriarty, I want to thank you because you cleared up a little problem on the creek over here in East Corte Madera, and you did it in the most speedo fashion. We had somebody was dumping some stuff on the creek, and but Dr. Bundy and myself both saw it, and they just acted so quickly. It was great. So thank you so much. And Adam, I love that you're using what I call my banner sign. The East Corte Madera finally has a banner sign, and it got put up. The new one got put up after the landscaping was done over there at the village, and you're using it now for the housing element meeting. And it's easy to read. You can see it from across the street when you stop there, and I hope that it is as successful as we hope it will be. So that's kudos to you. And Ashley, the Women's Club had a great meeting today. All of you should know this is kind of exciting that the Women's Club did meet today live for the first time in 2 years. And we were outdoors in the patio at the community center. We did have to set up our own tables because there's not staff there right now to help us, but it was little card tables. And so it was all doable. And everybody there was, there were 45 people, and it was very safe. And we checked everybody's vaccinations because we can do that because we're a private club. We only had our members, and we did the strict rules, and it worked out just great. So I just want to say also the NRGs are having a drill, and Ruben and everybody should probably know it's on November 7th. And it's going to be in the evening this time. You probably know that already, but I know sometimes there have been drills and people have, that they're not, we don't want the responders to come out when we don't need them. So, and you spoke of community meetings, and something nice has happened. And that is that on November 3rd, I don't know if there's anything on your calendar, Rebecca, November 3rd is at 7 p.m. The NRGs we have gotten Ross Stein to come back, and Ross Stein came and spoke publicly here about earthquakes, and it's kind of designed as part of Central Marin NRG, but I think it's something that the whole community could see, and it'll be on Zoom this time. So if you end up not scheduling any other meetings on November 3rd at 7 p.m., that would be great. And if you could put that in the little town information, I'll send it to you. But that's great. So that's all. Thank you so much. And, we'll move on forward, huh?
Great. Well, thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. We're going to go next to Pat, followed by Patty.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you for all your work and for being here for the community. Todd, especially with regard to the recent conversation on rates. And what I'd like to say is that I love that this has re-upped the sort of contract, if you will, for the Women's Club and the Lions Club, which are the two organizations that actually created the Recreation Center. They're why we have something to rent out. So those two organizations in particular, I really would like to see them codified as founding stakeholders of the community center so that they are involved and could be great contributors in terms of how to make a profit. Lions Club has done some excellent fundraising, and I think there's some really great talent there that could be tapped to if there are problems with cost recovery and so forth, that some brainstorming could be done. But my overall point is we're all just passing through here, and I've been passing through now for 30 years, and I've probably seen this particular issue come up maybe 4 or 5 times. So we just really need to make it so that we don't have to be always watching, that there are, there are policies in place. And I think that the Lions and the Women's Club are the only two organizations that were actually involved in creating the Recreation Center. But then I think there should be a whole nother tier of a lower rate paying group if they can show that they really are community serving. So whether it's Boy Scouts or the Beautification Committee or any other organization, if they're nonprofit, if they're totally inclusionary and are welcoming to all community members, if they're working to serve the community in some way, then they should have a tier of a rate that they pay that's the lowest possible rate to help facilitate those community serving organizations. And then the third tier should be, a private resident wanting to throw a birthday party for their 15-year-old or whatever. They should pay a little more because they're doing it as a private event, and they're not a community serving organization. And then at the highest pay rate, it should be private organizations or out of town, out of area residents. But I just really want to see this solidified. I know Jonna and others, we are realizing that we're not going to be here forever. And we really want to know that these great policies, which are what makes Corte Madera different than other communities, that we really do enable and support these amazing volunteer organizations. We just want to know that that's solid in black and white somewhere, so that when we do get, it's bound to happen, turnover, new people come in, and we could be undoing some really important things in the community if we don't have these things kind of solid and on paper or on digital file, whatever the term is for today. So that's my 2 cents on that, and thanks for hearing me out.
I did it again. Thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate it. Good ideas there. Thank you for contributing to the discussion there. I think that this will be something that we'll continue to work on in the coming weeks and months. So we'll definitely look forward to having you as part of that conversation. We're going to go next to Patty, followed by Becky.
Good afternoon. First, following up what Susie said about the Women's Club today in the park. Thank you, Ashley and RJ, for the splendid weather. It could not have been better. So thank you for providing that. And it was so nice to see everybody in 3 dimensions. It was just very, very special. So more of that, please. And then in terms of the Lions, you know that we just had our Lions Share where they helped a lot of seniors do some tasks in their homes. So tip of the hat to the Lions for that. But my question is very quick, and that is the presentation that Age Friendly did at the last town council meeting on Tuesday. When will that be available? Because a lot of people missed it and they want to be able to see the archived video.
It should be up now. Let me check.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca.
Yes, it's on the YouTube channel.
Excellent, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Patty. And congratulations to the Women's Club on their first in-person meeting in a long time. That is exciting. We're going to go next to Becky, followed by Lucinda.
Hi, thanks. I want to say that I had spoke to a friend recently from another, not to be named, Marin town. She's very active, said she doesn't know her town managers. They don't know her. So it's just reminded me, oh my God, you know, I get to look at you guys whenever I want. And to point out that I'm probably the longest distance person receiving this, because I am now in Georgia with my sick sister. And I thank you for putting this, having this done electronically, that I can watch you on my iPad. That's all.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Becky, and all the best to you and your sister. And we're going to go to Lucinda next.
I just wanted to also make a comment about the Nrg evacuation drill that we are going to have for Hidden Valley NRG. It's going to be on the 17th. It's a Sunday afternoon. And basically all we're asking our residents to do is prepare to evacuate, not evacuate, but prepare for it and see if they can do it in 20 minutes. I don't know if other NRGs are going to be doing that, but I just think it's a really good preparation aspect. And, you know, you can find out whether you can do it. If you've got animals running around the house and you've got to corral them, what's it going to take? How long is it going to take? If you've got kids, if you've got older people, I think that those are kinds of things that we need to think about before we actually have to potentially put it in place. So I just wanted to point out that we're doing that, and I hope others in the community are also going to be doing something similar. So I think they're trying to involve some kind of an alert, maybe possibly through the fire department. I don't know, Ruben, if they're doing something with, I think they've tried to be in contact with somebody to see about doing an alert Marin so that it goes out to people, but they know it's a drill, and I don't know. I'm not part of that part.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything regarding using Alert Marin as a test for the drill. However, what we've been doing is exactly kind of what you explained right now, Lucinda, is what every time we have our Twin Cities Disaster Council, we've been kind of explaining to the NRGs that you get much bigger value in an evacuation drill if you do that either 10 or 20-minute drill of, okay, let's go. Let's gather as much as we can. Let's go through our checklist. Let's get in our car and then go, okay, let's review everything. Did we prepare everything in the house? What did we miss? How can we do better? One of the things that we hear from the community that they want is a community-wide or town-wide evacuation drill. And every evacuation drill that we've been a part of, one of the things or one of the challenges we have is simulating the kind of traffic flow you're going to experience during a real-time evacuation. Even the evacuation drill that Mill Valley had a few weeks ago, it went smoothly, but they weren't able to replicate the kind of traffic that they anticipated. The best thing I can tell you for a traffic jam, it's going to be the mother of all traffic jams. If you can imagine Christmas time, commute time, and throwing a couple vehicle accidents around 101 at the same time in the evening, that's exactly what it's going to be like. So I think what you're doing with your NRG group, Lucinda, is going to have so much or a lot of tremendous value for each individual household. So that way they know, are we prepared and what do we need to do when the alarm sounds? So what I will do on my end, I will reach out to the OES duty chief up here at the county and see if or if they can or cannot provide any type of testing within the Hidden Valley group, because we can isolate those alert Marines pretty pinpoint within a certain block area. And then we'll see if it's even possible, and I can reach back out to you and let you know whether they can do that or not. And what time were you planning on having your drill?
But that's the other interesting thing is we're going to do it at 4:30. So everybody knows at 4:30 on the 7th, we're going to do this 20-minute drill. And then, so, you know, you can kind of have the expectation and be prepared for that. Whereas if you're actually having to evacuate, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And, but
the other thing I recommend, Lucinda, is when you talk to your NRG, have them look up emergency.marincounty.org to be able to find out what evacuation zone you actually live in. If those members don't already know where they are or what their zone is, because that's how Alert Marin is going to use Zone Haven, is they're going to grab that zone and then punch it out with one button. So it's
Ruben, could you give that website? Because that was my other question is how do I get set up for Zone Haven?
Yes, it's so if you're already signed up for Alert Marin, you're already signed up for Zone Haven. There are no automatic sign up for Zone Havens. However, if you go to emergency.marincounty.org, there's a tab on there for evacuations. And when you pull that tab up, it'll take you to Zone Haven, and then you punch in your address, and then it'll come up which zone your home is actually involved in within that group.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucinda, and thank you, Ruben. Appreciate it. Don't have any other hands up right now, so we'll just do one last call for any folks who have anything they want to ask or talk about. And if not, we can let everyone go here a little early. And I'm not seeing any hands go up. So I just want to thank all the residents for taking the time to join us. Glad we had more residents than staff on the call this time. That's always a good thing. So thank you everybody for the questions and thoughts. And thank you to, of course, all of our busy staff members for joining us, taking the time out of your day to be here and answer questions. We appreciate it. I believe Adam said that our first housing element workshop is tomorrow night, right? So that's at 6:30 via Zoom. So it should be a good opportunity to start the discussion. And I hope to see folks there. All right, everyone, take care. Thank you.